Hello, everyone. Welcome to Melody Llama Arts. And today we have a topic that I think a lot of artists seem to struggle with, and it is how to love your art. I feel like a lot of people struggle with this, and it's very much what stops people from basically succeeding. And I think the number one thing in this regard is to love the journey. How do you love the journey there? Because a lot of people, they get this spark of motivation. It's not like motivation is bad or anything, but motivation is definitely temporary. You'll start doing a lot of work like for a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, but eventually it does die down and you go back to what you were doing. You kind of fall behind and you really start questioning your art. So how do you fall in love with the journey of art and the work you're putting out? Me personally, I have a lot of ties to many different fictions like Dragon Ball, Street Fighter, Naruto. These are all franchises that motivate me all the time, and I get a lot of inspiration from. So there's that. I'm always looking at designs. I get art books for these different franchises, and they keep me going. They keep me motivated. But the number one thing I notice when people are not happy with their art, the number one contributor to that seems to be comparisons to other people's art. Now, it's a double-edged sword because I think that watching other people's art is actually something that helps me and many other artists tremendously. However, it's really hard, and it's totally understandable because I used to do this. It's really hard to not look at someone else's art who's been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years and not be like, wow, I'm not at their level. But you didn't see when they were starting out. You didn't see their first couple goings. One great example is Kubo, the mangaka for Bleach. If you look at the art when he first started versus the art towards the end, it's insane. Like the first arc, the first chapter, and then compared to like the Fullbring manga volumes, it's completely insane. I'll put it up right here. It's crazy. The difference is just night and day. You don't see that part. So I find it very easy for artists to, really question their ability and really not love their art anymore because they're too busy loving other people's art. So what should you do about it? Should you just never ever look at anybody else's art ever again? Of course not. That's not what you do. You have to train your brain to admire and study other people's arts instead of comparing. Comparing is going to get you nowhere. A lot of people have different art styles, different abilities, different journeys. You're never going to recreate the exact same art. And even if you were on their level, because it's someone you admired, you're always going to put them at a higher pedestal, or you're always going to like their style because, of course, you're a fan of that artist. You could be a fan of your art as well. That's the point. You should be, but you might not like your style better than his style, and that's fine. You don't have to have the exact same look, and you will never have the exact same look. So, it's okay. But how do you get out of that mentality of no longer comparing? How do I admire and study this person's art instead? Well, if any of you watch sports or like Evo tournaments or whatever, my advice to you is watch them draw. Watching a great artist draw is probably one of the best ways to improve, in my opinion, because you're seeing exactly what's going into it. It's hard to look at an entire piece and be like, I'm going to draw that. It's very hard. But watching someone do a single move, that's a lot easier to recreate. So you're never going to get to the same exact art and style that artist is, but taking some of their skills and applying it to yours, taking some of the ingredients that make the art that you love so much and applying it to yours is going to make you love your art a whole lot more. Watching Let's Draw videos is always fun, for me at least, and I think that it does help a lot. You can try to replicate the art, but do it again in your own style. You can take some of the techniques, but I like to replicate other people's art. There's nothing wrong with using references. I find this another problem. People who don't love their art is because their art doesn't look as good when they're not using references and they beat themselves up over it. It's okay to use references. Mostly everyone does. That's kind of a secret that no one's going to tell you, or everyone will kind of admit it if you ask them. Everyone uses references. We use them in different ways. We use them in different, different amounts. But everybody uses references. So if you don't love your art because your art with no reference doesn't look good, just use reference. It's fine. Nobody's going to tell you you're not a good artist if you're using reference. I feel like a lot of people understand like their art is not going to be the greatest when they start out. And so when I talked about earlier that one of the things that stops artists from loving their art is comparisons, that goes into it as well. But it's also, I think, the lack of improvement. I think over time it kind of just sours you more and more that you're not seeing your art go anywhere. So it's always important to find great ways to improve. There are tons of videos on YouTube that go into detail on what are the best ways to improve. And one of those I'm telling you right now is not draw every day. Drawing every day is good, but it's about drawing the right things every day. I'm not going to go into it too much in this video because that is a topic in of itself. I encourage you to go look up on YouTube any number of videos that go into how to improve your drawing skills effectively, because there could be a lot of time wasted when you're going directionless. So improve correctly is another great way to love your art. Enjoy the process, learn from things you enjoy. It's important to know that there's no end destination in art. The reason why you have to love your process so much is because, again, there's no end point. You're probably thinking like, I'm going to get to a certain art level and then I'll be happy with my art. Kind of doesn't happen. I think that even professional artists will tell you that when they look at their art, they're always thinking about ways they can improve it. They're always thinking about ways they can get better. So it's like, at some point, you have to turn your brain from, I want my art to get to a certain point, and it's then has to turn into, I want my art to keep getting better. Because that's just how most artists, if not all artists, get to at some point. Now, some minor things that I find actually help is a support system. Post your stuff online. Even if you don't get a lot of people liking and commenting or whatever, just a little amount is nice. Family and friends and people from school or wherever you are, college, high school, it doesn't really matter. Those people, they can't knock on you for trying something. They can't knock on, I know a lot of people have fears like, well, what if I post something and then it looks like nobody likes it and nobody cares about it? I'm embarrassing myself. You're not embarrassing yourself. I'm telling you that right now. You have a lot more going on than a lot of people. A lot of people don't do a lot in their lives. So, if you're doing an art business and you're showing it off to the world, that's massive. Do not undersell what you're doing by just posting your art. And then eventually selling and all that stuff. It's a pretty high margin of people that do art and never actually post it. So you just posting it puts you ahead of a lot of people. Now, another thing that I find helps is finish all your art. Every single piece of art you do has its own purpose. Whether it's something you failed at, it'll teach you a lot. Finish every piece. When you're doing a piece, whether it's a canvas painting or a digital art or even just, pencil to paper, and you're not liking how it's going, just finish it. If you really don't like how it's going, change the direction of where you're going with that art. Adapt. It'll teach you how to adapt. It'll teach you how to do different things. It could take your brain into places it wasn't going to take you normally. And even if you do stick with the original idea and you don't like how the end product looks, you learn a lot from that. So finish every piece you start. This is massively important to me. I do finish every single piece. It took me a while because, it's hard to not look at a piece that you think doesn't look good or is ugly and find the strength to keep going with it. But I think it does teach you discipline as well. And discipline is very important for an artist because, like I said earlier, motivation can only get you so far. So finish every single piece. I promise you that every piece you create has a distinct purpose for your journey. And another thing, there are pieces that I finished that I did not like, and over time I did, or the other way around. There were pieces that I thought were really great, and then when I got done with them, I'm like, it's all right. Or over time, I was like, it's all right. So again, you don't know how you're going to feel about your art a couple weeks, couple months, couple years down the line. So again, finish every single piece. It'll teach you a lot. So that to me are just some of the ways you can love your art. It's important to know there is no end goal. There's no ending destination where you're going to suddenly become a master. Enjoy every single step you take, even if it's baby steps. Being an artist is fun as hell. So love what you're doing. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, usual stuff. I got more stuff like this. And if you guys want a compacted version of this video right here with a little more details, I do sell templates and I can leave them in the link in the description below. If you don't want to like sift through this video every single time to remember like what I said, I got it really nicely compacted in a couple like slides down below. Check them out if you're interested. If not, who cares? Just leave a like. That's already enough for me. It helps me in the algorithm. So again, thank you guys so much for watching and I'm out. Bye.